It's a What If Wednesday on the PHLY Sixers podcast. What's going on, everybody? Welcome on a Wednesday 2 hour. Again, What If Wednesday as we get closer to the NBA draft lottery. Alongside Derek Bodner, I'm Devon Givens, producer extraordinaire, president of basketball operations. Bree is producing. She's got a lot of titles there to make sure this all works. It's good to see all of you in the chat. What's going on? I Gavini, see you right there. Dan GC as well. Everyone else, thank you so much for hanging out with us. And right at the top, I wanted to say this, Derek, before we get underway, as we are now 5 days away from the NBA draft lottery, we might as well tell people once again, as we try to hammer this into everybody, to make sure you get your ticket to sign up to hang out with us for the Die Hard Draft Lottery Party at the studio next Monday. It's going to be a blast as we await the lottery's ping pong balls to work their magic. And we'll talk about who's going to be representing the Sixers here shortly, because we didn't get to it yesterday. We want to make sure we get to it today. That he brings good luck. All of you bring good luck to our studio. And you must be, again, a diehard member. So go sign up at allphly.com. Sign up to become a member. Join us as we hang out at the studio from 6 to 8. 7 o'clock is approximately when the lottery will get underway. We will do a show in the moment as the lottery is happening. And of course, we'll react live on air. And then once we're off air, we'll react with all of you as well in studio. So sign up, become a diehard member. It's going to be a blast to see everybody next Monday. Derek?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, because it's not even really like you're not coming to watch a show. We're going to do a show for a couple minutes, but really we're there to hang out with you that night. Talk some basketball, talk some NBA draft, kick your butts and pop a shot. We will do it all. We'll have wonderful food. I'm very much looking forward to it.
No doubt about it. So if you've heard good returns from Monday with the Flyers draft lottery party, or Tuesday where Fran had his film session, his second film session, which was once again a big hit amongst the diehard people. And you know about the good food, the good drinks, the good interaction with the talent there from Fran and Charlie and Bill and Kelly and all. It's going to be a blast with us as well. Rich, Derek, Kyle, Bree, myself will all be there with you. Chris, Vince will all be in studio on Monday, so we can't wait to see everybody on Monday. Jared McCain. Jared McCain is the one, Derek. He announced, the Sixers announced, can he bring some good luck to the team? He's a happy guy.
Well, he certainly, and look, I've gotten into my fair share of arguments with Hedva here about the role that vibes play in good luck going forward. But if you are a believer in vibes, there is probably nobody with better vibes than Jared McCain. Certainly cannot hurt. Not sure how much it's going to help, but it certainly cannot hurt. It is a little bit awkward to me. Like if they get the number 2 pick and he's looking at it like, what does this mean for me? That could be a little bit awkward. But I think he's young enough, optimistic enough, and probably most importantly, versatile enough that he can fit in pretty much any scenario going forward. Even still, like, the whole MCW Alfred Payton thing from all those years ago still sticks in the back of my mind a little bit. Like players are always going to be worried about their, future security going forward. So we'll see.
Going back to that draft, man, I was a big Alfred Payton guy coming out of school, and I was curious to see how that would play. I knew the shooting. We know how the shooting was at that time, but as far as running the team, I thought he might turn out to be a better pro than Michael Carter-Williams at that time. So I had no issue of if Sam Hinkie was deciding to trade Michael Carter-Williams. No worries on that day, because I was ready.
Well, I wasn't worried about Michael Carter-Williams being traded because I thought he was overrated. That being said, I do think Alfred Payton, and I don't want to get too deep into a scouting report on a prospect from over a decade ago. The shooting did concern me a bit, because it's not like he was a 1-year player. He was a 3-year player who couldn't shoot by the end of it. That is concerning, but certainly defensively, he had a lot to offer.
No doubt about it. But, as you speak about Jared McCain, last year's 16th overall pick for the Sixers, a lot of questions to that particular pick. But on this What If Wednesday, you just pointed out how he feels like he can naturally fit into any situation that the Sixers are having and what the backcourt looks like. But in terms of this What If Wednesday, Derek, we decided to not go into a negative side. With 5 days moving into the draft lottery, the 10.5% chance the 76ers have to land the number 1 overall pick. Bree had the great idea of, let's do a what if of the Sixers actually getting the luck of the 10.5% that they have to land the first overall selection. And the cat is good luck. To your point a little bit earlier with the vibes, that Cooper
Well,
Flagg.
it's funny because my other cat is named Cooper, but she is sound asleep right now. So Peanut here
Well,
had to stop
it's
by.
gonna be a busy summer, off season, in the fall when he has his namesake in town for the
Yeah. Yep.
major of the time. So speaking of that, it is Flag Day here. We named it Flag Bearer here on the thumbnail because Derek, if they are able to win this, not only would it save the franchise and the fan base and make him happy, it would put a pretty big smile on your face, which is most important to me here on this show. That Cooper Flagg would be the one to
It
come in
would
and
put such a smile on my face. You have no idea. And look, a part of it is that fun basketball is more fun to watch than bad basketball. Part of it is that we all have a lot of friends and family who care and probably stake too much of their emotional well-being on this team, and I would be happy for them. But good basketball, or at least exciting basketball, hopeful basketball. There's a sentiment out there that Philadelphia is a Negadelphian. I can tell you, as now a pretty long time member of the media, it is so much more fun to cover a team where people have hope. And Cooper Flagg, more than anything, at least in the short term, represents hope. And that would be such an infusion, because I think the one thing everyone is struggling with right now, it's not like the Sixers don't have any talent, right? It's not even that. It's just that they've lost so much hope. And I think for the first time this year was, I don't know if this window's still open. I don't know if I still have hope with this core. Cooper Flagg sets you up for a decade with that. It would be amazing.
All right. So how would it happen, man? How would it happen? Number one, again, 10.5% chance to land a number one overall pick. We know they have the fifth best odds here in terms of the draft lottery. But if we look at it, that it happens, we will update everybody on lottery night on that Monday of what the percentage chances is. Things have to work out for them to go in their favor. When we've done our daily tankathon spins, and you've gotten the number one overall pick. You did that yesterday. Bree's got the number one overall pick. She has done that as well. So we've had the number one overall pick, but you have to jump 4 spots in order to do so, and you're going to need some luck to do it. But if they do it, if they do get lucky enough, Derek, on Monday night and are able to secure Cooper Flagg, you just mentioned that they have talent, which is why we thought they were going to be a playoff team again this year and contending for the Eastern Conference. How would that change, especially after seeing what we saw this past season? Just simply, let's start off. How would it change the Sixers' fortunes?
Yeah, well, I mean, the great thing about Cooper Flagg is it is really, really easy to build around him. Like, obnoxiously easy. We've gone through 2 stages now where you had Embiid. And Embiid is as a two-way player, at least he was earlier in his prime, but he's at least early on in his career, a post-up big. And that was something that pretty much everyone on the team had never played with, because that has gone so far out of fashion. So you had to take some real thought into how to build around him. Ben Simmons was obviously a very tough fit because the guy couldn't and wouldn't shoot. And in the modern NBA, especially when you're a ball handler, that's real tough to build around. So you had a lot of things that he took off the table that you had to worry about as you built around. The great thing about Flagg is he's a two-way versatile wing who doesn't really take anything, or at least when you project it 2, 3, 4 years down the line, he doesn't take anything off the table. Like, he can handle the ball, he can shoot, certainly got a lot better shooting towards the end of the season. It is a luxury that teams like Boston have had, where you're built around two-way wings, and the Sixers have mostly had a real dearth of them. So it is, it's the first thing is you can go in a lot of different directions. Like, you don't have to worry about his fit with Maxey. You don't even have to worry about his theoretical fit with Embiid if he is on the team and does get back on the floor. He can fit in almost any capacity around any other star core, and I think make it work. He can fit next to another star wing if you're ever lucky enough to be in a position to draft another star wing and build sort of like a Boston Celtics sort of core. He can fit almost everywhere. And I think what's also interesting is, I think of all the players in the draft, he's probably the one that's ready to contribute next year the most. Won't be in the role that he'll eventually have when he is, fully developed. But I think he can step on the floor, be a starter on a really good team tomorrow, despite the fact that he's really young. So not only do you have a lot of flexibility in terms of, the how you build around him with your stars, you also have flexibility on timeline. You can go down a timeline where you want to try now, give Embiid another chance to come back and contend next year. I think he can play a significant role in that. Maybe not the top top or second scoring option that he's going to be later on in his career, but as a third or fourth scoring option, I think he can fill that right now while giving you some two-way potential. And then if that doesn't work out and you want to build around him, you can transition pretty quickly to that too. He really would be there's so many prospects here where they take something off the table and have some concern that could be in the wrong outcome, a fatal flaw. He just doesn't have any of that.
No, and we continue to talk about the seamless fit that he has. While we have questions of so many others from 3 on down the evaluation of these players, he is the one that's the seamless fit. It seems like the surefire player that can drop into any situation. And it just so happens that here it's a unique situation because they were, again, supposed to be something totally different than what they were this past year with the 24 wins that they had this season. Now, if they're able to get back to being a playoff contending team, we still have a lot of, again, what if Wednesday? What if they're able to do that? This guy, you just slot him right in, and it's a perfect fit, knowing that he wouldn't have to carry the burden, as you mentioned, of what normal number 1 overall picks has to do for these bad franchises. You may have a lot of questions about the 76ers, but they're not a bad franchise. They're still a team that is capable of winning a lot of basketball games in a regular season. When you get to the postseason, that question is up in the air. But to have him, along with those others who we'll get to in the next segment, just more breaking it down, how he would look next to Embiid, George, Maxey, and McCain, and so on. This guy is just a tremendous talent, man. I mean, the fact that he has been able to live up, we've talked about LeBron James. Now, LeBron James did it from high school all the way through his professional career. But for this player also to be able to carry it from all the hype that he has had since, let's say, his sophomore year in high school, at the very least his junior year in high school, to be able to do all the things that he has done. All the things that he has done from high school, playing in high level basketball, all the AAU circuit, the Nike tournaments, the Team USA the Team USA with the high school players that he has played with, then playing on the select team with those other young players that are pros. He's the only one that was an incoming high school college player, a freshman at that, who has yet to play a minute in college basketball. For when we were out there in Las Vegas, you heard about, man, this kid looked really good. He looked like he belonged on the floor with all of them, not just the select team, but the team that they were playing opposite, which was the actual team that went on to win the gold medal. Then he goes along and he first team All-American, of course, all ACC, Rookie of the Year in the ACC, and all the things that he did in the tournament as well, where he comported himself pretty well in that environment for what they did to get to the what did they get to, the Elite Eight or the Final Four? They got to wherever the run ended.
Final Four, I'm pretty sure.
Final Four, I believe it was. Yeah, for them to get to the Final Four in the way that he played there and to get to that spot, just tremendous, man. So if the Sixers are lucky enough to be in a spot to move up to number 1 and have the opportunity to draft Cooper Flagg, this would change and save a lot of things for this organization, both in the present and in the future.
Yeah, no, it really would. And, you've seen there's a pretty healthy debate going on in our chat right now about whether or not he would be like a franchise savior. And I understand if you still question whether or not he will be like a, number 1, like no doubt about it. You can give him the ball and have him create every time in the half court kind of guy. He's a little bit more in, some weird combination, whatever his range of outcomes is, can go from like Pascal Siakam to Andre Kirilenko to Scottie Pippen on the super high end. Like he's a little more in that kind of a mold rather than the traditional give him the ball, ask him to create out of pick and rolls and generate all of your offense. Although he got a lot better at that as the season wore on. His shot showed a lot of improvement as the season wore on. I think he's a pretty good passer. I think he can grow in a lot of areas. He could certainly become a top option. But I think a lot of people are going to look at him and say, like, I don't necessarily see that. And right now, it might not be the case, but he's just so multidimensional, so multifaceted. Like I said, even if he's not the number 1 scoring option on a championship team, he could end up being the best player because the two-way play is so dominant. And because he's so versatile, he can fit next to almost anyone. Like he would be a great fit next to Tyrese Maxey if Tyrese Maxey is able to make a jump and become that top scorer. Even if Tyrese Maxey is not like a top 15 player, because he is Flagg is so versatile, he fits next to almost anyone. So it's, we can sit here and hand wring and be like, oh, well, he won't necessarily save the franchise. So what does it matter? Well, it matters because you have one of your two core pieces of a really good team that's almost impossible to get. When people looked at Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum, most people looked at them and said, I don't think they're going to be a top option or even a second option on a championship caliber team. And here they are, playing for another championship, or at least playing a playoff run, hopeful for another championship run, already having one in the bag. Like you watch Jason Tatum, he didn't look like he got, had the talent to get all the way to the rim, to really create for his teammates. He was settling for a lot of tough shots. A lot of people had questions. Jaylen Brown at Cal, dude could barely dribble, shooting like high 20s from three, and was a non-passer. And those two people have developed into the core of one of the most consistent teams of this era. So I think when you look at Cooper Flagg, he has so many skills in so many different areas and showed so much improvement at such a young age. I'm a little uncertain putting a true cap on his upside. And I think anyone trying to nitpick, like, is he going to step in and be like the era defining kind of player? I think you're thinking about it a little too hard.
Listen, as the comments in the chat and the discussion rages on there in the chat, we're talking about here. Yes, we can look at some of the other teams, Charlotte, Utah, Washington, all those other opportunities. But here, again, he doesn't have to do that right away. And he may not have to do it for a while. He may not have to do it for a while for us to really have to worry about if he lives up to that number one overall pick of carrying a franchise, because he's going to have those other players that we're going to talk about on the other side in front of him. So we'll do that on the other side. What would it look like, everybody, with Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, and even Paul George? What would it look like to have Cooper Flagg next to those three to get the season underway next campaign for the 25-26 year for the Philadelphia 76ers? We'll do that when we get back. Daily Tankathon spin a little bit later. We'll update you on some things around the NBA and our news and notes. We'll have a little fun on this What If Wednesday. Not a negative of what went wrong for the Sixers in the past. We'll get back to that. But on this Wednesday, the Wednesday before the NBA draft lottery, and the 76ers have a 10.5% chance of winning the first overall pick. Cooper Flagg, what if the Sixers are able to get Cooper Flagg? We'll talk about it more in the fit on the other side right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. And folks, I got to tell you, if let's say hypothetically they do win the pick and you're at home and you get so excited that you just rip up some things in your house, like the flooring in your house, I don't know, maybe something along those lines. We've got a place for you to go to make sure you get those things repaired and fixed for the summer. And that's with our good buddies, our good people at Empire Today. Empire Today, just like your favorite team, you need your home court, home field, home ice advantage and team, right? You love your team. You want to have all that in your home. Your home needs a new home floor advantage, and Empire Today can help you get it. Now, you got to be really strong to mess up your flooring just from excitement from the 76ers getting the number one overall pick and the opportunity to draft said player that we've been discussing. But Empire Today, they have flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals who's focused on flooring every single day. And we've all seen those big box stores where you wander endlessly throughout the aisle, trying to find somebody to help you figure out what you need. And you're hauling all these materials home once you do get the things you need, looking for an installer and coordinating everything yourself. Well, those big box stores, they might have a flooring department, but the person helping you with the flooring may have been doing sinks yesterday, light bulbs, and some other plants, that kind of stuff, gardening, and not just focus on the floor. Well, that's why Empire Today comes into play here. And why is Empire Today your best bet for a new floor? Well, Empire Today lives and breathes flooring, and they will be with you every step of the way. It's a totally different ball game overall. You get precise measurements taken, have all your questions answered, so there are no surprises when going through this process. And with Empire Today, you get clear upfront and inclusive pricing. Plus, you can schedule installation as soon as the next day. Schedule a free in-home estimate today, because some things are just better at home, like us doing the show sometimes, better at home. PHLY listeners can get and receive a $350 discount when you use promo code PHLY. Yes, you heard it right. A $350 discount with code PHLY. Restrictions apply. Visit empiretoday.com/PHLY for full details.
Oh, Devon, don't sell yourself short. You're phenomenal no matter where you're doing this show from.
Thank you.
I also want to make sure we tell you about one of our new friends here, Art of Words. Picture is worth 1,000 words, and this local Philly artist proves it. Each piece is made entirely from handwritten words, like every eagle forming the link and every Philly shaping Citizens Bank Park. It's not just sports, he's captured Boathouse Row, Reading Terminal, the Philly skyline, the Jersey Shore, and more. These are unforgettable gifts for sports fans, grads, for housewarmings, Mother's Day, Father's Day, really for any occasion. He started selling art at the K-Lot and Rice's Flea Market and credits Philly fans for launching his career. Available for dozens of teams and cities as well. There's something for everyone. These pieces are total conversation starters. You'll spot a name, then another, and soon everyone's reliving their favorite sports memories. It's been featured on the Today Show, ESPN, and TED Talks. Check out artofwords.com. That's artofwords.com. Use code PHLY checkout for 15% off your purchase.
Make sure you go get that art, hang it up in the house after your flooring is all done and you have the beautiful light coming in from the summertime sunshine. Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast.
I've actually seen some of his work because I live not too far from Rice's Flea Market. It's really cool stuff. I am going to have to check that out. Yeah,
it does a really good job. Also, know the artist that you're talking about and does a fantastic job for the work that he puts out there. I do want to make sure that we again remind everybody about our NBA Draft Lottery party for those who are just coming in next Monday, that will be Monday, May 12th. Sign up to become a diehard member. If you haven't already done so, that's the only way you get to hang out with Derek, Kyle, Bree, Rich, myself, Vince, Chris at the studios Monday night from 6 to 8, 7 o'clock NBA Draft Lottery. Sixers, hopefully getting the top overall pick. If not getting the top overall pick, just go check out right now on our chat here during the show, the live chat. Bree has put up. Producer extraordinaire Bree has put up a poll here on the show, asking the questions: where will the Sixers land in the draft? Top 3, top 6, or lose the pick altogether? Go ahead and continue to vote. We'll give you the updates on the poll results as we go along towards the end of the show. We'll get our daily tankathon spin a little bit later. I saw Gene did the daily tankathon spin for him. And he got the 3rd overall pick so far. So not getting Cooper Flagg with that one, but we can work with that one. For sure. And I'll also give you a little bit later. Jonathan Wasserman put up his final mock draft before the NBA lottery. We'll tell you where the Sixers landed in that one a little bit later also. But the fit, Derek, as we talk about Cooper Flagg, is fantastic because it's not Utah, let's say Charlotte, Washington, none of New Orleans even. None of those teams we don't think in a situation like the Sixers where they should be able to bounce back into the playoff conversation. How far that goes, we don't yet know, but playoff conversation. And again, Flagg doesn't have to be the franchise carrier. He can be the flag bearer, but that can wait until maybe a little bit later. Right now, he still has the opportunity of fitting in and fitting with those guys. He does. So how would it fit? How would it fit?
He absolutely does. And I think it's because I think a lot of fans are going to be wanting to trade Embiid and make him the face of the franchise almost right away.
Yeah.
And we can talk about that because I think there's reasons to consider that. But I also, first of all, I just don't think the Sixers are going to trade Embiid this summer. His value is at an all-time low. I think they're going to give him every chance to come back and see whether or not he could play and then go from there. And in that scenario, like if you're talking a starting lineup of Maxey, Grimes, Paul George, Cooper Flagg, and Joel Embiid. Obviously, you need a lot of health luck. But just in terms of sheer skill set, I think that is an almost perfect starting 5 around your, star players. Now, you'd obviously like for Flagg, you expect him to come out, even though he shot the ball really well, and I think started showing more in terms of diversity and shooting up, pulling up off the dribble and making tough shots like that from well behind the college 3-point line. You expect him to probably struggle in his first year. Like that adjustment to the NBA line, to the speed of the game, tends to really, really show up for shooters. And there's usually a year or 2 adjustment period, even for players who will be good shooters. But if that shooting comes through, like I said, his ability to impact both sides of the ball, his positional size, his passing and just general feel for the game, and that shooting, if it works out, and then also you have another real fast break threat, something that Sixers didn't have a whole lot of. That would be a tremendous fit among that group. And like I said, the nice thing about Flagg, even if Embiid's out and you just have Maxey, Grimes, George, Flagg, and like maybe Dembona, I think that team can be pretty competitive. Now, again, you're still relying on health from Paul George, but
Sure.
that's just the skill sets of that group, the two-way ability of that group, especially with Grimes now playing at that 2 guard spot, with Flagg and Paul George at that 3 and the 4. Even if Embiid's not there, that should be a pretty good defensive group. So Embiid's almost gravy in this situation. Not that you wouldn't need him, obviously, if you're going to hope to contend. And maybe you're on a Kawhi plan where he plays, a select number of games in the regular season, whether that's 40 or 50 or whatever. And even that sounds like a pretty optimistic scenario, but is available in the playoffs. I think you have a group that can compete well enough to actually get to the playoffs and then hope you just get a couple of weeks of magic from Embiid's knee.
Yeah, and that's the fact that he wouldn't have to be. Of course, he can be a shot creator. He can be a guy who maybe we think can be able to create one-on-one. The beauty of it, as we talk about some of these players fitting in with the 76ers, is because let's say, all right, he's going to be a perimeter player, so you're going to have a wing on him, but sometimes you're going to have that wing that's going to be trying to slow down Tyrese Maxey. That wing is going to be trying to slow down Quentin Grimes. That wing is also going to be trying to slow down Paul George, because you just can't ignore Paul George. He's still Paul George until he proves otherwise, that he's no longer, that he's not that player. Then you're probably going to have like the third best defender maybe on Cooper Flagg. And if you think that the things that we have seen already from him training with Kevin Durant, some of these other players that we've seen him practicing with in the offseason from his junior year to his senior, then his senior to his freshman year in college, and of course, working out with the select team, and what he has done, the training that he's already had, Derek, he's been going against these players, these types of players, these NBA players for quite some time. Now, it is a different environment. The game speeds up. You're actually playing an NBA basketball game. But for him to, in that scenario that you're talking about, be the player that has the third or the fourth best defender on him because of everyone else that's surrounding him, that is a big-time luxury for him to fit in seamlessly. The ball will find him. He'll get a play call for him occasionally because he's too talented to not. This is not a Thaddeus Young situation, right, where you have a guy that can score, but he just does all the dirty work. He'll find the basketball and he'll find the shot when he needs to. No, this guy's going to get plays called for him from time to time. Nick Nurse will have no choice but to do so, and he's going to maybe have an advantage depending on who that defender might be. So on any given night, let's say it is the Atlanta Hawks. He's playing the Atlanta Hawks. Maybe it's Ricochet. Maybe it's not Jalen Johnson. Maybe it's someone else like Karis LeVert that's trying to slow him down. And while he is a stronger body potentially, that height that he has over him and that lift that he's able to have over him and the ability to, as a defender who we know for years that Karis LeVert, when he does dig into it, he can be an okay defender, just like any NBA player can. But when they don't, that first step is very quick. That get to his spot at the elbow is pretty good lift again on that jump shot. The back down ability with the fadeaway jump shot is also one that's in his arsenal. And that could be, again, just a really good weapon for him because of who may be defending him. We all know that you try to hunt switches and things of that nature as well. So they might try to get him on somebody who's much, much smaller. Trae Young gets caught on him, or someone else that's a smaller defender on the Atlanta Hawks, as an example, does. And he should be able to take advantage of that. And that's what's good for this one. By the way, love Thaddeus Young. I was just pointing out that he was a guy who didn't have to have plays called for him to get his buckets. That left hook along the baseline. That's
not derogatory. That's a compliment.
No. Yeah. I'm saying it. That jump hook over the right shoulder. Yep, oh 100%. Man. Oh, he was fantastic at that. Yeah.
No, and look, it's great. He can operate in almost two different roles, right? Because when everyone's healthy, he might be a fourth option. He might get to pick on, weaker defenders on the other team, like you just mentioned there. But let's be real, he's not going to be the fourth option all the time, not just because of lineup combinations, but because at least two of your big three are going to miss a lot of time, or at least there's a risk that they will miss a lot of time. And if he doesn't, if Cooper Flagg is the fourth option for most of the year, we will all thank our lucky stars, because that means they are healthy, and Lord knows that doesn't seem all that likely right now. No, I think it would be great for him to go between those roles, where half the time he's operating as like a fourth option. Other half of the time, he's growing into the role that he will be in the future. You get him a chance to, sort of come in slowly, but also have a taste of what life's going to be like later on down the line. And look, this is a kid who isn't going to be intimidated by the moment. He's not going to be overwhelmed by the players he's going up against. I mean, we got a chance to see him last summer out at the Team USA practices, and he at no point looked overwhelmed or like the moment was. And obviously, that's just a scrimmage. but he did not look out of place at all. It was actually a little bit startling to watch that. And then for him to come out there after that and end up, putting up like 19-7-4 in college on a very tough schedule. And like we mentioned, his play got stronger as the year went on. His play got stronger as the competition ramped up. 21.2 points, 7 rebounds, 4.4 assists, shooting 44% from 3-point range in conference play. A good conference in a league where you get a chance to play most teams twice and you get a chance to scout them and react and adjust. He countered all of those adjustments. I think he is going to be, like I said, maybe not the player he will be 4 or 5 years down the road because nobody is, but I think he will be a day one contributor.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. Real fast, Kenny Powers in the chat says, in reality, the Sixers have 2 of the worst contracts in the entire league and are doomed if they don't get the top 2 pick in this draft for Flagg or Harper. I'm assuming Powers is saying Harper is the second. What do you think of that?
I mean, I think doomerism is maybe Philadelphia's favorite pastime, and we overplay the doomed part. Look, they have a lot of work in front of them, but truth is, there's a lot of players who become stars that aren't drafted in the top 2. It's tougher. It's less likely. You will have your work cut out for you if you don't get a top 2 pick. But no, in no way do I believe that you are necessarily doomed. I just think it becomes tougher. You have to get a little more creative. You have to get a little bit luckier. But teams change. The direction of franchises change all the time. If you would go back to, let's say, even Dame Lillard, and Dame, obviously Portland didn't necessarily have a title run in them. But what was he, like the 6th pick or something like that? 6th, 7th, somewhere in that range?
6 overall. Yeah.
I would bet you a lot of people looked at him and looked at the size, looked at some of the concern and said, I don't think this guy's going to change the direction of the franchise. You just don't know. It's really tough to predict that in the draft. And especially with the way the Sixers have hit on a couple of players here in Maxey and McCain later on in the draft, I hate the doomerism of, unless they get the guy that right now I can easily project being a star player, they have no chance. I just think you have to be a little more open-minded that this isn't as cut and dry as we make it seem. There are a lot of players who will come out of nowhere and surprise us. There is creativity. A GM can do to get out of the situation. It is, like I said, we have to have a lot of opinions here in this draft, but I think especially with the draft, but in team building in general, there needs to be a lot of humility in that you cannot predict everything that's going to happen to 18, 19, and 20-year-olds and the way they progress on the basketball court. You can make your best guess. You can make your most reasoned arguments. You can, look at everything and try to be honest with your opinions. You're still going to be wrong a lot. And the Sixers do have some draft equity in the future. They do have a couple players who the league values quite a bit. They have 2 awful contracts, and that is true, but that is not the only thing. And I will go back to a thing I made before. If you could attach Jared McCain to get rid of Paul George's contract, just zero it out. So you include Jared McCain and Paul George for basically expiring contracts. I think most people would say, I'm not doing that. I'm not giving up a young player in Jared McCain. So almost definitionally, that means a hit in the draft. Even Jared McCain, who's not a home run, right? Jared McCain's probably a double, maybe a triple if he develops, not a home run. A hit in the draft is worth more than a poor contract. It's just a poor contract impacts us so much right now, and it's impossible to ignore. But if you hit a player like McCain in the draft, who might be worth 2 first-round picks in a trade, that is worth more than it costs to get off of Paul George's contract. So, calm down. They are bad contracts. You can move off of bad contracts, even really bad ones. What you can't do is replace, missing in the draft. And if you are able to make hits, even doubles, that really impacts your future of the franchise.
And just to add, because I don't want to mess up everything that Derek just said, which was great, has everybody in the chat loving what Derek just said. They had a disastrous season and everything went wrong for them this past year. Could it still go that way in a lot of ways because of in at least the 2 cases of the 2 contracts and the injury history that both of them have? Sure. But the hope is that you at least get some really, really good play out of them where they can play some extended games, give you those extended minutes. Obviously, Tyrese Maxey is Tyrese Maxey. Maybe you re-sign Quentin Grimes to that extension. He's back. He's in another role. And Jared McCain is healthy. And once again, even if it's not Cooper Flagg and you do get a really, really good pick here in the draft and keeping the top 6 selection, you might be in a pretty good spot for the team overall. So hope upon hope. We don't know about Joel Embiid, nor do we know about Paul George. Their contracts are their contracts. You're just hoping that because it is difficult maybe to trade either one of them, that they come back as healthy as possible, and you're able to just rock and roll with what you have healthy as possible with them and this new addition in this draft, hopefully Cooper Flagg. We'll talk about why he separates himself as far as tiers go in this draft. Derek, Kyle, and myself, we have him as the number one tier of the prospects. Derek and I will explain why we feel that way when we get back on the other side. Look at Jonathan Wasserman's final mock draft, daily tankathon spin, news and notes. We got you covered right here on PHLY Sixers Podcast. And Derek did mention a new sponsor a little bit earlier. We got to tell you about another sponsor, everybody. Mando. Oh, look at that. The Mando and the Mando starter pack with the code PHLY. You get $5 off. And I'll just show you right here, everybody. When we see you all on Monday, right? We see you all on Monday, and I walk by you, or we get the dap up and we give a little hug and all that. You might smell something, and it might smell pretty good, because I might actually spray some of the whole body deodorant spray and try to impress everybody with how good I smell because of the Mando starter pack that I have because of our new sponsorship. And let me tell you a little bit about Mando. And it's a men's deodorant brand that's hyper-focused on keeping every aspect of the man's body smelling fresh and clean. And when I say every, I mean every. So I'll spare Winona and Val in particular, and Mary in particular, so they don't have to go and run away because they don't like something I say. So I'll just simply point out that for your pits, like your stomach, your belly button, your lower back, or even your undercarriage, if you will, and more, the scents are geared towards men with options like the bourbon leather that I have right here, Clover Woods, Mount Fuji, and Pro Sport, all to make you smell very good in all areas of your body. So I've sprayed it and I've walked around and I'm like, I even pulled up to a drive-through one day when I sprayed this on, and it wasn't a lot. And the person said, that smells pretty good. So I took the compliment. Created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated, clinically proven to block all odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. Told you about the spray. The solid deodorant stick is formulated and powered by mandelic acid to stop odor before it starts. All products are baking soda free, paraben free. Choose from a variety of scents as I just laid out. And you can get these at a number of places. So if you want to try America's #1 whole body deodorant formula right now, you can find them in Walmart, Target, and other retailers across the country for the best deals. Go to shopmando.com. That's again, go to shopmando.com. And when you do go and sign up, you get $5 off the starter pack with code PHLY.
And we also want to tell you about Ashley Furniture, because it is on at Ashley Furniture. Shop the Memorial Day sale at Ashley. Save $100 off of every $1,000 you spend, plus get amazing savings on outdoor furniture. And that's not all. Get 60 months special financing and have your furniture delivered locally free. Plus, with your qualifying purchase, get a free gift. Save on top brand mattresses and get local delivery, setup, and removal at Ashley, South Jersey, and Philadelphia. Visit ashleyfurniture.com for more information. Financing with approved credit, minimum purchase required. Some exclusions may apply. See store for details.
Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast. So darkness says 72 hours. That means I can shower even less and enjoy it even more.
You're taking the wrong information from that, buddy.
Yes. So it's good product though, everybody. It smells pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good. Yes. I was actually in the store. I was in one of the stores and I saw it and I was like, look at this. We're legit because we've got these in the store, and we got these at home now. So it's pretty good. All right.
Let's cover up whiskey breath, because if the lottery turns the wrong way, you might find me sleeping on the couch because of some coping mechanisms.
Well, I carry stuff in my bag, so I'll give you some of those to make sure that you don't have the whiskey breath if they don't hit on it. Well, we do want to tell you, though, quickly before we get back to why he is the top tier in this draft and really separating himself from the rest of the 2025 NBA draft class. Got to tell you about the PHLY, the golf tournament, folks. It's the second annual PHLY Sports Liberty Open Golf Tournament, which will be at Blackwood, New Jersey, and it's fantastic. It's Jaws's Valley Brook Country Club's the second annual Liberty Open. It's going to be a fantastic showing once again. That's going to be on June 14th, 2 p.m. shotgun start at Valley Brook Country Club, and it's presented by Xfinity. All right, it's Xfinity. Here's what happens when you sign up and you get an opportunity to come hang out with us. 18 holes of golf with a cart, limited edition PHLY golf tournament gifts and tee prizes, taste of Philly dinner and post-round ceremony at the pavilion. Also, unlimited draft beer for 2 hours after the round, contest on the course, and a post-round raffle with Philly memorabilia. When you go in and sign up, use code PHLY DieHard Golf. Diehards get $50 off of a foursome and $15 off an individual for the event. That is once again Saturday, June 14th, the second annual PHLY Liberty Open, 2 p.m. shotgun at Valley Brook Country Club, and it's all presented by Xfinity. Not Xfinity Mobile Arena, Derek. Just it's Xfinity. All right. I didn't think about it yesterday when we were talking about it. You got the Xfinity Live across the street, across the parking lot, and you're going to have Xfinity Mobile Arena. Most times when we say, hey, Derek, let's just go run down to Xfinity, you know exactly what we're talking about.
Yep. You'll
that's
have to
the
be
problem.
a little more specific. Yep.
Exactly. All right, man.
I'm going to go see the Sixers game at Xfinity, and next thing you know, your buddy's showing up at a bar waiting for you all night.
Exactly. On the big screen. He reserved the table and everything. But yeah, you're in the wrong spot. Why does Cooper Flagg separate himself as far as this tier system that we have here, where he's number 1, Harper's 2, Bailey, Edgecombe are 3, and then you have 4 with everyone else? Why does he separate himself from even Harper?
I mean, he's just in part because defense is 50% of the game, and a pretty important 50%, especially in today's NBA when a big two-way wing is really a cheat code. And it's been a cheat code for quite a while. A lot of big forwards and mobile wings get drafted very high, even with limited skill, because you hope they can develop into, like I said, the next Jaylen Brown, who very much did not look like Jaylen Brown when he was at Cal, but because of the development and because of the natural athleticism and size and his defensive ability, he has become one of the more valuable players in the league. Everyone is chasing that. And so for Cooper Flagg to have that kind of profile, have that kind of versatility and mobility on defense at his size, and then also, by the way, be a good decision maker on offense, show a lot of improvement on that three-point shot. Like I said, he shot 44% in 20 conference games last year and got better as the season went on. Show a lot of increased ability as a both playmaker and scorer out of pick and rolls. For him to be that size and have that kind of versatility, while also not taking almost legitimately anything off the table. Like, you just don't see people that versatile not take something off the table. It's just cheat code for building. He is the easiest player to build around in this draft. I think he has the most upside when you factor in two-way ability. Harper might end up being a better natural scorer, especially when you factor in getting the free throw line, all he can do. But Flagg could end up, because he's going to be such a tough matchup, because he can take you off the dribble, because he can pull up off the dribble, because he can get such great elevation on that jumper. He's going to be a matchup nightmare too. So it's just, it is the diversity of ways he can impact a basketball game is, I think, pretty clearly at the top of this draft. He's been at the top of the draft all season for me. I don't think I've moved him off once. And quite frankly, and I'm knocking on wood, and I hope this doesn't happen, he could suffer an injury where he'd miss his entire rookie season, and I would still take him number 1. I think there's that much separation that wouldn't deter me, assuming there's a decent prognosis he will come back from it. So it's, to me, not even close. He is the only one, because even with Harper, you can look at him and say, all right, well, Harper, I like the way he can drive and get to the basket. I like the fact that he's, driving dishes there. I like that he gets the free throw line. Good touch, yada, yada, yada. The athleticism is not going to pop. You're not going to look at him and be like, that's an amazing, at least vertical athlete, or that's an amazing first step. There are concerns with everyone. I think there are fewer concerns with Cooper Flagg than anyone. And I think there's more ways he can impact the game than anyone as well.
What do you think about AA's frequent meeting? Not Aaron. AA frequent meeting, also a regular now in our chat, saying Cooper Flagg equals Jason Tatum. What do you think of that comparison for where Tatum came out? Tatum was certainly a top 5 prospect. Then he was pretty much stamped going into that final week of a top 3 prospect. Boston had the number 1 pick, traded it to the Sixers. We all know what happened. Fultz at 1, Ball at 2, and Tatum at 3. What do you think of that one that AA frequent meeting throws out there?
What if Wednesday just took a dark turn with you bringing up that draft class? Look, I think especially when you look at Tatum, when you look at the way Tatum played in college, I think, he had a lot of red flags that concerned me quite a bit. I thought he was an okay passer, but not a great passer. I thought he was certainly a good scorer, but settled for pull-up jumpers a little too much. You were a little concerned that he wasn't going to extend his range at the three-point line. Obviously, you look at it now, and he clearly has, and has become a great three-point shooter. But that was a lot of, that just brings back the uncertainty that we're talking about when we look at 18 and 19-year-old players. I think Cooper Flagg is just a bigger, more versatile defender who, quite frankly, just showed more during his one season at Duke. Tatum was, like I said, talented, but I think you had real concerns over whether or not he had the handles to get all the way to the rim. I think you were concerned of whether or not he could extend his range at the three-point line. Like I said, a lot of concerns that looks ridiculous in retrospect, but they were there when we were talking about Tatum after his freshman season. So I think Flagg will be I don't want to say he'll definitely be a better player, but I think his ceiling is a little bit higher. Even if Tatum is maybe a little more natural of a scorer, I think Flagg's ceiling is higher just because I think he has better physical tools. I think he's more advanced at this stage than Tatum was. And I think he has a little bit more two-way potential as well.
Not a terrible comparison then.
It's not a terrible. I mean, no. And I think with the way that Tatum looked in college, like I said, there are more concerns than I think we remember right now.
Yeah. So it's funny because if people do remember, though, a little bit from Tatum's start to his Duke in college career, he didn't play the first few games because he had a tough injury. And his first game, I remember specifically, it was in Madison Square Garden. He showed some things, but he didn't look great. And I don't remember the opponent. I just remember that was his first game back. And you could see some of the stuff that in there was going to make him a top 10 pick, top 5. And then at the end, once again, top 3 pick, certainly falling to the Boston Celtics at number 3. And I can see where that comparison that AA brings up, though, of the body type, the height, when you look at it, the high release on the jump shot for both of them, the ability to put the ball on the floor, play back to the basket, especially with the smaller defenders on them, and hit those fadeaways. I can see it. I can see it. And the player that Jason Tatum has turned into, which is a first-team All-NBA guy for the last couple of years, is going to be first-team All-NBA once again, a MVP, top 5 MVP conversation player, and a champion. You would love to have that player right now on the Philadelphia 76ers, especially in a year where you, quite frankly, didn't expect yourself to be. Although the season was terrible, this would be a great ending of what we looked at as the worst season in a long time. If you're rewarded with this, not saying it was worth it, but having to deal with it, it wasn't worth it in the moment, but you're able to land this player and he can turn out to have that type of career for the 76ers. You would take that all day long. In looking at Jonathan Wasserman here quickly from Bleacher Report having his final mock draft. It is a lottery simulation, and it's a full 2-round draft, Derek. So I'm not going to do all that, of course, but lottery simulation.
Now let's say here I want to go over every pick, and we can live react to it.
No doubt. All right.
That would take hours.
I'll give you the first few. Number 1, the Brooklyn Nets, Derek. They jumped up. Brooklyn Nets from number 6 to number 1. Obviously, they take Cooper Flagg. Wasserman's comparisons to him as a pro, Jalen Johnson and Kevin Garnett. So just your thoughts right there with those two, Jalen Johnson, Kevin Garnett, somewhere mashed in between.
Interesting comparison because Kevin Garnett, especially back then, was, obviously he was a perimeter power forward and center big man for that era. But I certainly think he was a little more of a traditional post in terms of the way he was viewed. Body type, length, ability to protect the rim, all of that stuff. Whereas I look at Flagg as more of a 3-4, and Garnett is more of a 4-5.
So
obviously one who revolutionized the game with the way he played and the way his passing was and the way he had a mid-range jumper and all that.
The Jalen Johnson one is interesting.
Yeah.
But I think his ceiling is higher.
I do. And I think his defense is potentially higher. No, I mean, he's going to get compared to pretty much every tall forward who can play both sides of the court. Somebody in the chat, I think Phil W brought up Lamar Odom. I think Odom was, probably a little bit better of a passing prospect at that stage. Didn't necessarily have the shot early on in his career, but I think he had a real passing, a little more creativity as a passer. I think Cooper Flagg is going to be able to create more off the dribble, and because of that, there will be passing lanes open to him. Might end up being a more effective functional passer, but Odom has some real creativity there.
100%.
It's, it's hard to come up with a direct 1-to-1. Like I said, the Kirilenko types, Scottie Pippen on the very high end types. Like that's more how I see him than maybe a traditional big.
Yeah, I'll think of some more as we get ready to talk about him for the rest of the summer, since the Sixers are going to win the #1 pick in the lottery next Monday. I'll come up with one since we'll have time. Yeah, since we have to cover his career. No problems there. Let's go to number 2, which was the Portland Trailblazers, Derek. Jumping all the way up to number 2, Dylan Harper. De'Aaron Fox, Jalen Brunson are the comparisons. So there's that. Number 3. Your Philadelphia 76ers. 76ers at number 3 in this mock lottery draft for him.
This is going to annoy me, isn't it?
Do you want to guess where he selected at
I'm
number?
guessing he went Ace Bailey.
He did not.
He did not. Okay.
He went VJ Edgecombe.
Okay.
At number 3, the breakdown is, of course, he talks about the Embiid part and the roster building moving forward. And he mentions how for the draft, it will be worth discussing the idea of accepting Embiid's unreliability, going with Queen or Malawak, potentially they seem more like a trade down target from 3 in this particular spot. With Flagg and Harper gone, though, Edgecombe could look most appealing as he offers a different level of explosion, defensive quickness from Tyrese Maxey. Jared McCain also offers insurance on the wing following a disappointing first season from George. That was his breakdown there. Ace Bailey goes 4 to Utah in this scenario. So, yeah, that's where he went. And his comparisons: Andrew Wiggins, Oladipo.
But he's 4 inches shorter than Andrew Wiggins.
I know. Oladipo and Iman Shumpert. The Oladipo one is the one that I know I've brought up to you guys.
Yes.
That's the one that I would
Of
say.
those 3 comparisons, I think that's probably the best one.
Yeah.
And again, Oladipo, I think when you look at him in college, he wasn't near the scorer he became later on in the NBA. No, look, at 3, when he mentioned trading back, that's when I started pumping my fist, because I'm pretty firm in the if you get 3, I would trade back. That's in part because I'm just not anywhere near as high on Ace Bailey as anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
I think some team is going to be willing to overbid because of that I would take advantage of that. And in part because, I look at Ace, not a huge fan. I look at VJ. I like the way he plays. I'm not sure he's worth a top 3 pick. And especially, he is measured in at Hoop Summit the past 2 years at basically about 6'5" in shoes, which is decent size, not great size, and only about a 6'6" wingspan. So I don't necessarily view him, if he was, because, he's got a lot of flaws offensively, especially in the half court, where, his pathway towards being an impact player is really based on that, just being a complete stud defender. And he might end up being that. His perimeter defense is incredible. He can force turnovers, get you out in the break. But I would like that archetype a little bit more if he was like 6'5" with like a 6'10" wingspan rather than 6'5" with a 6'6". Like, I worry a little bit about whether or not you can play him. I don't think you can play him as, as someone who's measuring basically like 6'3", 6'3 and a half without shoes, 6'5" with shoes. I don't think you can necessarily play him in a 3-guard lineup all that often. So because of that, like I said, if he was 6'6" with a 6'10" wingspan, I think he would be my 3rd overall prospect.
Yeah, he'd be
as a 6'4", 6'5" guy, with a short wingspan. I worry a little bit about whether or not he's going to have enough offense to be worth a top 3 or 4 pick. So because of that, I would really look into trading down. But I mean, at least I believe in VJ as a worker and as a defender and as someone who's going to buy in and give you 100% every time and listen to coaching and you can get the most out of his talent. So I would, he didn't go Ace Bailey. So I'm, I'll take the good, I guess.
Well, if you're like me and you have some good things to say about Ace Bailey and you want to hear my thoughts, go to our allphly.com, go to our YouTube page, honestly, and check out after we're done the show. It's only a few minutes. You can go check it out. Go to our videos section there, and you can see where I did a little video conversation about Ace Bailey and the prospects of why you should take him. It's only about 45 seconds maybe on the show.
Look,
so go check that out.
If Ace Bailey is a Sixer at the end of June, he's got talent. He's got upside. Like, I will certainly acknowledge his scoring ability and his talent and his positional fit. Like I said, I think a big part of scouting the draft, this is one thing that was really beaten into my head when I would make a big board for Draft Express or USA Today or wherever, and look at it 5 years down the line, oh, I don't know jack diddly about anything. Like and I don't feel bad about that because, by the way, neither do GMs look at the NBA draft and how many mistakes are made. Once you get past like the top 2, it's really, really tough. Really tough. So like I said, I will sit here and I will come up with my concerns. I will come up with my best guesses. I will put in the work to at least have an educated opinion about it, while acknowledging that there is so much that's going to happen here over the next couple of years that's almost impossible to predict. So I will acknowledge, if he's a Sixer, I will acknowledge his scoring talent. I will acknowledge the upside if he figures it all out, and hope for the best.
All right. Quickly, anybody else name-wise you want to know where he has in his final mock draft just before we get to a few other things here? Anyone else? Jeremiah Fears goes to Washington at 5.
Give me the top 10. Give me the top 10.
All right. So Bailey goes to Utah at 4. Fears to Washington at 5.
Interesting.
Trey Johnson to Charlotte at 6.
Okay.
Malawak to the Raptors at 7.
Okay.
Queen to the Pelicans at 8. 9, the Spurs take Knipple. And 10, Houston via the Suns take Asa Newell. And that will round out the top 10 according to Jonathan Watson.
Yeah. See, that's why, like, if you're telling me like Khan is going to fall to 9, I'm trade down easy. Like I'm more than willing to find someone who overvalues someone in the top 5 and try to get try to get.
Are you trying to get that second pick?
Yeah.
Are you trying to get a second pick in the lottery? Yeah.
Second pick or even a pick down the line.
Okay. All right. You got it, man. All right. Let's get to your daily Tankathon spin here as we talk about a few other things here in just a second. Daily Tankathon spin from Derek. Got the number 1 pick yesterday. You can't do any better than that unless you get it again. Uh-oh.
No. I haven't spun yet. I'm just nervous because we got the first overall pick last time.
All right. What do you got? Let's see.
Six. Dropped one spot. Yep.
So you might trade back. You try to trade back there if you get the 6th overall pick, or you're going to stick and maybe look at Trey Johnson, something like that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it depends who goes, but like Trey Johnson would certainly be in play there. Yep. Okay.
All right. Sounds good. A couple of news notes here. Steph Curry, mild hamstring strain, grade 1. So he's going to miss about a week as they win game 1 in Minnesota of the semis last night. But he has, I don't know, Derek, how they were able to do it last night because they had a lead and they kept it. And the Minnesota Timberwolves didn't shoot well enough. I don't know for this week where you're probably going to get at least 2 games in. Can Golden State hold up without Curry?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a shame.
It's tough,
they played
man.
Such a good game.
Yeah.
And, we can sit here and get excited about the, Buddy, Jimmy chemistry, and their press conference after the game was legendary and hysterical.
Yeah,
and
it's fun.
Still enjoying it. Calling him buttered. Just a wild rapport they have between those two.
Yeah.
But if Steph can't come back, then I don't think they necessarily have a chance. And like, he's only ruled out officially for 2 games, right? They ruled him out for a week.
Yeah, for a week. Yes.
That's a tough injury, man. That's a tough injury to come back from. You just don't know how it's going to react. You don't know how long. Like I can't count on him. You just can't count. And if you can't count on him, then I don't see how they have the offense really to beat Minnesota.
Yeah, I agree with you. At the end of the day, Minnesota will be fully healthy.
It was good game. That second quarter was dominant. Like their defense really locked them down.
Unbelievable. I guess they're gonna have to go and dust off Kuminga a little bit more and give him some run now. They don't have a choice. He played last night, but I'm sure Kerr's gonna have to give him some run now. By the way, just quickly before we get into our roll call, we're naturally going to go over. So we want to say we're going into overtime here for a few. And we thank everybody on the TV side. If you want to continue to watch the show, join us at allphly.com to continue with our show. And also last night, Tyrese Halliburton, the most overrated player in the NBA, they came back and won. And I still don't know how the hell they did that, man. But it was a great, great shot. I was like, no. And he got it, and it was a game winner. Walk off 2-0.
They were down 2. He got the ball, like, what was he, 5-6 feet away from the rim, pulled it back out, and it's like, oh, you better make this shot, buddy. You better make this one.
Because Nembhard was to his left, and he was open, and you're like, boy, man, yeah. So that's a great shot.
I'm really interested to see what happens if Cleveland, fresh off of winning 64 games and being the top seed in the East, they fall in the second round again this year. Oof. I'm interested to see how they react to that.
They got to win 4 of the next 6, and Indiana is good enough to win 2 of the next 4. Sorry, 4 of the next. They have to win 4 of the next 5 games, and Indiana is good enough to win 2 of the next 5.
Yeah.
They are.
No, and it is so wild how quickly you can
3 of them in their house.
You can be on cloud 9 thinking you've got your core built for the next 5 years, and then you run into like a weekend of bad basketball, and next thing you know, you're questioning everything about your team, man. This sport,
especially when you have 2 starters out with Garland and Mobley out. You had mentioned that yesterday during the show that those 2 would be out. Hunter was questionable. He didn't play. So you had 3 guys down. They had a big time lead, and they at the end they spit it up, and Indiana took it, and now they go back home with the home court advantage. Which they have a chance, man. They really do.
Yeah. No, it's I don't think anybody would have picked Indy in the conference finals, but we're looking at a couple more games away from that being a real possibility.
2 years in a row it would be for them. Forget about the fact that injuries happened to help them with Jalen Brunson last playoffs. In this case, few injuries here, and this playoffs against Cleveland. Whatever, man. They got there.
And Boston and Cleveland looked so tough. They looked so just locked in, consistent, built for the playoffs, and then reality happened, and now we're in complete chaos.
First time.
It's so much more fun when we're not the team being thrown into chaos.
Oh, yeah.
It's so much more fun.
And the first time I think they said in NBA history that 4 series had game 1s and the road teams won those games. So first time in NBA history that the road teams have won those game 1s.
It's going to be a tough ad read when we have to talk about home court advantage next time. Oof.
Well, like you said, it's not the Sixers.
It's a general concept. I agree with our ad partner, but now is not the time. Now is not the time.
Yeah. No doubt about it. All right, folks, make sure you go sign up once again for our draft lottery party next Monday, May 12th. We're getting closer. AllPHLY.com. Go check out all the written content there. Dallas Goddard is staying in Philadelphia, Derek. We didn't get a chance to talk about that, but go check out everything from Zach Bowe, Fran, and Les Bowen on that. Go check out the show where Rich and Zach talked about it today. I think Fran and Zach did the emergency podcast on it today. So all of that as far as the written content at allphly.com and on the video side, of course, on our YouTube channel. Then you have Derek writing about the prospects, Kyle writing about the prospects. They're up there. Also, Phillies, Flyers as well, allphly.com. Diehard member, sign up to become a member, and you have the opportunity to hang out with us on Monday, May 12th at the PHLY studios for the draft lottery. All right, man, let's get ready to say goodbye to everybody with our world famous, as always, the roll call from home. We got home court advantage, Derek. Doesn't matter. We have home court advantage.
We do.
Yeah.
All right, let's start this off here with Sean Ford, Aaron.
What up, Aaron?
AKA Mr. Sandman.
Bring
Vincent Salamontino.
Cooper Flagg. Gavini, what up?
Zilla.
Boots.
Vic. Yams. Yams is in here again with a new one. Densley Richard, even though he was making fun of me, we'll give you a shout out as well. Mellow 3 Point.
Mellow,
Eugene
my man.
Ross. We will see you, Eugene, on Monday.
Good job by Eugene bailing on that meeting. You don't want that stress. Just come talk basketball. No.
Did I say Agavini? If not,
yeah, you did say Agavini. Get a second one. Yep.
Ronald Andel. I see a Ronald Andel. Winona is there in the chat. I saw Jess earlier as well, even though while I'm scrolling up, I don't see him.
Hey, ladies.
Phil W back in the chat after taking a little bit of time off. Appreciate Phil
Good
making his
Phil.
way back in.
Who's Phil representing in this draft? He's an agent. Who's he representing in this draft? Phil, who are you representing?
Let us know, Phil. Let us know. He seemed like he was pretty high on Harper.
He does.
I don't think number one
he
overall
also likes
pick,
Bailey.
but I think it's pretty high. Yeah.
He likes Bailey
let's
too.
see. Mom's grandchildren. I see mom's grandchildren. What up, Mom?
Hey, Mom.
Music Lover 31. I don't know. I'm horrible at remembering who I already said, so I apologize if I'm scrolling up and I skipped your names. I'm not getting into a lot of repeats.
Love somebody.
That's Kyle Wright. Kyle Wright is there, and also Brian Knight.
What up, fellas?
I'm doing such a bad. I always say I need to write down the names, and I forget about the roll
Yeah.
call until you bring it up, and I have no names written down, and now everybody is arguing amongst themselves, and I'm missing everyone. So I
Darkness.
I think I saw Val earlier. I think
Val was in there.
Earlier.
PHLY
PHLY
guy.
guy. Yep. Not a huge Cooper Flagg fan. That's fine. Lee
Nin was in there also. Saw Lee Nin. And Kobe Cope's Code. The show was great. Kobe Cope, we appreciate it.
AA frequent meeting and also AA Ron. Saw them both in there.
Yep, we got both of those. Sal was in there as well. SB Cole, Rose Nyland, the Golden Girls, Rose, when she was back. It was always good to have Golden Girls, Rose back in the mix. So it's always great. Everybody will be back tomorrow. It will be myself and Kyle and Bree tomorrow. Derek has the day off. And then it's going to be Derek, Kyle, and Bree on Friday because I am off on Friday. We'll all be back together on Monday for the 3 p.m. show. And then we'll have Rich with us in studio for the draft lottery party on Monday night. So make sure you go like and subscribe to the show. Hit the like button. And when you do hit the like button, it's not telling us how much you like us. It's telling us how much you love Bree, because the production excellence, as always, is from Bree. When you do hit that like and subscribe button, you know what showtime is. You know what it means. You're going to hear the bell exactly like that. And it's going to tell you it's time for the show. Everybody, have a great rest of your Wednesday. It's always fun doing a what if. Cooper Flagg, what if? What if the Cooper Flagg actually falls to the Philadelphia 76ers and they get the number 1 overall pick? It would be phenomenal.
We have an entire summer to talk about
this
one.
And I will be most happy for Derek because he's my teammate and my brother, and I will be happy for him. All right, folks, all of us. Bree, great job as always. Production excellence. We'll be back tomorrow at 3. Me, Kyle, and Bree, and all of you. Derek will have the day off, and you'll be able to catch up with him on Friday with Kyle and Bree then. Everybody have a great rest of your Wednesday. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 3 right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.